Hi, today I want to talk about how you can start investing your first £100. When you're starting investing for the first time, it can be a bit nerve-wracking. It can also be scary because you've never done it before. It's easier to say to someone, start investing with £100, as opposed to saying to them, start investing with 300 or 500 per month. People like to start off by getting their feet wet, getting their feet in the ground, and then as they grow in confidence, they start to invest more and more and more. So you may think 100 is not a lot. What difference can it make? And that's where the figures start to give evidence to the benefits of investing for you. But before I talk about the figures, what would be in your best interest? Is it to buy a particular company or to buy a fund? If you're investing with only £100 a month, I suggest you buy a fund. And if you're new to this channel, a fund is a basket of shares. What it basically does is it holds businesses in that basket. So the fund I often talk about and refer to is the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in the United States. What I love about this fund is you've got the top performing companies. When these companies are succeeding, your investment, your money is growing as well. If some of the companies don't succeed, you also have the cushion of other companies succeeding. So you're not left in a bad situation compared to if you invested only in one company. So imagine with one company and that company doesn't do well, then your money would start to go down, which is not a very good way to start if you're a first-time investor, because remember, in the beginning, you want to build your confidence. You want to see that money grow. So when we talk about the S&P 500, what is it about it that stands out for me? So as previously mentioned in other videos, S&P 500 in the last year grew by 16%. So if you had 1,000, that would have been an extra £160. But if you think about interest rates for savings accounts here in the UK, we're getting an average of about 4%. So compare 4% to 16%. That means your money multiplied by 4 times, because 4 times 4 is 16%, right? So imagine if it was 10,000, then that's a growth of 1,600 in 1 year. And if we look at the S&P 500, those top 500 companies, their performance in the last 5 years, 10,000 has grown by 8,300 and become 18,300. Shows you that if you even start with that £100 a month, you're starting to get into the game of wealth creation. My personal mandate is to show you how to multiply your money and how to grow generational wealth. So having said that as well, remember, this is financial education, it's not financial advice. So please do look into these funds and do additional research. If you're looking for S&P 500 funds, you've got options with Vanguard. You can look at the Vanguard S&P 500. You can go to their website. They're available. The fund is available to buy directly from the website. You can also buy from iShares, and there's other companies as well. You can compare and just do a few checks on Google. What I do love as well about the S&P 500 is that it's invests in a diversified range of industries, a diversified range of sectors. So for example, it's invested in technology. So if you're interested and you don't want to miss out on the gains in technology stocks, about 35% of it is invested in technology company. 13% of it is invested in companies that are in the financial sectors. Those are like banks, for example, consumer credit cards. And then you also have consumer goods, about 15% in consumer goods. This is looking at products that we buy, things like our soaps, our shampoos, our ice creams, companies like Unilever, Johnson & Johnson. It's also invested in about 10% of healthcare companies and 8% in industrial companies. This gives you a pretty good and solid diversified portfolio, especially when you're starting with just a small amount. And we often hear about some major companies in the news, companies like Nvidia, companies like Microsoft. They're all in the S&P 500. The S&P 500 also holds companies like Apple, you know, Apple with the iPhone, Amazon. I'm sure there's nobody who doesn't buy from Amazon, so we all know what Amazon is by now. We have Meta, which is Facebook. It's also invested in Google. It's also invested in Tesla. We all hear so much about Elon Musk these days. So, and he's even recently bought an extra $1 billion worth of shares from Tesla, from his own company Tesla, which shows how much confidence he has in Tesla. Then we also have companies like Broadcom. They produce semiconductors, which are very important to companies like Nvidia and for technology. And then we also have investment in Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway is a company founded by one of the top investors in the world, Warren Buffett. If you've ever heard of him, it's good to look up and find out about him. So with that information, that's your starting point. So if you have a brokerage account, I suggest you take a look, and you also pretty much check what other forms of funds are there that invest in the S&P 500. Then you can have choices and you're spoiled for choice. One thing I would also encourage you to look at, when you look at each fund, please check what the management cost is, the management expense fee. It's often called the OCF. It's normally about less than 0.2%. So the lower the figure, the cheaper it is for you. That's the fee you're paying to the fund manager to manage that fund for you. So I hope that helps you out. If you do need additional information or you'd like one-on-one coaching, you can click on the link in the bio and set up an appointment with me, and I'll be happy to help. Thank you and have a good day.